1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Well, I want to welcome everybody today. I didn't realize we had a little conflicting schedule today, but there's some other events going on that involved elders, and I didn't want to bother them. I had a couple of people ask about it. I said, if you plan to go there, please go there. And I said, I'm not trying to take away from their event, but I'm glad you all showed up. They're having a senior games or something like that. Senior games at the OAP, and but anyway, you all chose to came here, and I'm glad you did. I didn't want to cancel this either because we had already set the date, and I was afraid that we might get some weather, but it looks like we're going to be okay today, and so we're going to have a discussion today. It's not a big topic, but it's something I think is very important culturally. And we're going to talk about our clan system, and our the relevance and the relationships between individuals. And so, but before we start, it's always our custom, in whether or not you observe Christianity or not, we always go to our Maker and our Creator and our Lord, Savior, before we start anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a hymn, and then after our hymn, we'll have a word of prayer, and then we're going to get started. So you want to go ahead? Hayoi nagaptia lishmakit patsi jangir no mari hayoi oyejiat no mari hayoi de bobagit shibolagit ska marozi gaji pomete moment pon huidagio pomazaize pona hamge pomazaize hayoi de shibolagit skin hayoi nagaptia no mari alleji zalhaniat alleji zugurumongin moment chi hujeb ko moment azagi romet kilte mal shizi giltaji shizi lakkuiji moment alleji zalhanio Marozi gaji as ulezi go down no me station hayom was as marozi gaji alezi zalani of sindashi zohiji hayom les boys. Amen. All right, and we still got people coming. That's great. We had a real good meeting 3 months ago over in Mvskoke at the Housing Authority, and we thought we'd have it there again because they had such a good facility, but I forgot that we can have some real good weather in May sometimes, and I really like using this facility. It's I guess it was originally a church, and this was the arbor, but growing up, I always liked to have church under the arbor. I like to feel the breeze, and so I told Joe, I said, can we have it back out here? He said, yeah, we'll just change it to back out here. So I hope you all enjoy it, and today we're going to talk about something I told you it wasn't a big thing, but it's a very important thing, and it has to do with our identity as people, as Mvskoke people, not necessarily Creek people, not necessarily Seminole people, but as Mvskoke people, because there's one thing that we have in common, and that is that we have an identity in our clans. They say there's 14 major clans in the Mvskoke society, and I don't know that I can name them all off to you right now, but I know there's some of the major clans that I can think of is the Wind Clan and the Potato Clan, the Bird Clan, the Kachogi, which is the Panther. They say Tiger, but it's Panther Clan. They have Deer Clan, Nogoshogi, it's a Bear Clan. Akteachogi, it's kind of a water being. And what did I miss? Albarogi. Oh, of course. Albarogi. Did I miss any others? I know that's about 11. Izo. So anyway, what first we're going to talk about, and I'm going to talk about the origin story that I know. And if you all know a little different story, we can talk about that as well. But when I was growing up, and Tizari Bonagada Shiri Ahmed Punan and Sabozat Nakamuna Idimas. Two of Saboza Bagid Latagla again. I'm Punai Yazido Nambuna and Mabo has and Dakagiri Maran Hanga Ketchigration several times, yeah. Nakamuna in Jimunaya Hanaktoer. So when I was growing up and I was a little boy, I spent a lot of time with my grandpa. And he liked to tell me things. He liked to talk and tell me all the things that he had known, he had been taught. And you know, that's our tradition with the Mvskoke people, native people, whether you're Creek or Seminole, is grandkids. They learn from their aunts and uncles and their grandparents. Stiskoge that rutkit willagibov, stibozar, stibozit. Stibowogit, Stiskozogit, Mad Nakpumahayahana, Malakan, Uagadidundon. So they taught us, our aunts and uncles, grandparents, they taught us things while our mother and daddy were off, you know, making a living, taking care of us. And he taught me a lot of things like that. And one of the things in particular is that he taught me about the origin of not only clans, but the origin of people. At one time, a long time ago, on this earth, there was no people. There was only animals. There was only animals and birds and insects. And y'all have probably heard stories from your elders about how they could talk to each other. They had little stories, jokes about the animals, things that they did and said to each other, and we heard a lot of those things growing up. But at one time there was no people on this earth, and before they came on this earth, there was only animals. But there was everything else: the trees, the rocks, the rivers, the waters, Ofunga, or Hishaginamizi. He had already made these things. And the last thing that he made was human beings. And so animals came and went, and they like I said, they could talk. They lived in, when I hear the stories, they lived in sometimes homes just like we did. And they had a family life, and they, they got along and they socialized just like human beings. But at one time, Ofunga saw the need to bring human beings into this world. Now, my grandpa, he called it Igana Ilafunin Gezidimas. That means the backbone of the earth. Igana Ilafunin Kanhalwionabat. Kanhogi Legidwarish Gezimans. He said there was a cave on the backbone of the earth at the very top of a mountain. And I understand, and a lot of people think that story, it's a well-known story, that that cave was in the Rocky Mountains, maybe up in Colorado, up in that area. But it was in the Great Rocky Mountains. And inside that cave, that's where people came from, the first people. And at that time, there was a lot of fog. A lot of fog. Hobili jikfidad is magidumas. Olin hobili jikfidun. Mad Harijish kosi isti iso sat. Hangat kosi iri halat hazorit. Iso sat iduis kezimas. They came out in small groups hanging on to each other because they couldn't see through the fog. Nagin hijagi godat. Iri halat hazorit iso shin. Moit isti ahungat kakosit yan azabagle. Said there were groups of them just came out, but they were afraid because they couldn't see. And so when Ofunga, Hishaganamazi, or God, when he saw this, he saw that he needed to do something that would allow these people to not be lost. So he took a great breath. He took a great breath. God took a great breath, and he blew away the fog. And when he did, these groups of people looked around that were standing there holding on to each other, and some of them saw objects and animals. And they named their little small group, Tihalat Hedrivolat, So in honor of this great breath of wind that Hishagadamazi or Ofunga blew on this earth, Ishti Irokalkuzi Harizishkuzi Isoshat Hudalini Yahuzivagadi Duis Magidumas Mat Hudalgo Girundos Kezimas. Have you all heard that story? Mat Hudalgogi. So if you're a Wind clan, your clan was the first to be named. Any of y'all Wind clan? Okay. You heard the same story? Okay. And so after that, the next clan, when the people were inside the earth, when they were underground, the only thing they had to sustain themselves was potatoes. You know how potatoes grow underground? Well, they found potatoes growing from the top of the ground down into the ground, and the only thing they had to eat and sustain themselves was potatoes. Mat iahuzivagadish magins ma istishaw kulat aha mat ahalagauge mahugirungo ahalagauge. Some people say sweet potatoes, but he just said it was potatoes, but it might have been sweet potatoes. But anyway, mat ahalagauge dundun. Is any of you here ahalagauge? Sweet potato or potato? Okay. Your grandpa? Okay. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, relationships, but I'm glad you said that. You too. And so on down the line. And once these other groups started coming out, and Hijagidamajit, Hijagi Mungov, Hubilidat Kawap Kadish Magidarundur. Kawap Kovan, Manak Punat, Tivulagat, Ishti, Idihalat Hedri Volat Nagidan, Hizagnuat, Man Ia Huzivagador. Moment. From there on, I don't know what order, but yeah, this group over here, first one Hijagat, Man Ia Huzivagador, Mat Puswolgit, Mahokat, Marundor. How about that? Man Chijajaga, Puswolgi. Anybody bird? That's what I am, bird. Your dad? That's what I am, bird clan. Movan Marabuida, Nogoshi Hizagat, Nogoshogan Yahuzivagadish. Hada, Halbara Hizagat, Halbarelgi Gazidi Yahuzivagadish. Izo Hizagat, Izoelgi, Unga Chuelgi, Yahuzivagadish. And so that's how the clans came to be. I've heard that there's 14 major clans, but there were long time ago, they say there were even more, but those have become extinct. Just in the last few years, I met people that said they was Konibalgi. Kitlaksa Konibalgi. Kono, skunk clan. And somebody thought they were extinct, but they found a few that was Konibalgi. and mo fullen. But anyway, there's about approximately 14 clans that are known to still exist. And so another thing that I need to tell you about is what's the importance of clans? Clan is a traditional identity, and it helps to set our relationships. It teaches us how to respect one another, and it teaches us that we are different. We're all different, but we're all worthy of respecting each other. When you follow your mother, whatever your mother's clan was, that's what you are. Well, since that's what you are, that's what your mom is, you're going to respect that. You're going to respect everybody in your clan because that's what your mother was. And we follow the mother because it's a matriarchal society. Mvskoke is matriarchal. Everything follows after the mother. So whether it's your clan or your band or your tribal town, you follow after your mother because that shows that our respect for the women in our society. Let's take just a minute and back this circle out a little bit because I want everybody up in a circle. We'll just bring more chairs in as we need it. I've seen several of you just drove up. Welcome. I'm glad y'all are here. I was telling the group earlier, they had the senior games going on at Mvskoke, but you chose to come here, so I'm glad you all came out, and hope you enjoy this meeting. But anyway, we was talking about the identity, the clan identity, and it's matriarchal. We get it from our mother. And traditionally, in our custom, it ain't quite like that anymore because we're getting like Stehetki, but the woman was the head of our homes. When a man married a woman, he went to her home. She didn't go to his house. He went to her home, and they raised their kids with her family. And even though we give a high regard to the father's parents, the mother's parents was the one that the kids traditionally grew up around. And so that's why we get our identities from our mothers, our clan identity. And the clan identity is very, very important. And the only way that we've kept it alive is by oral tradition. By telling our children that's what we are. By telling our children this is what your father and your grandfather and everybody is. And when they teach us that, they tell us that you're to respect your dad's clan people. Those are your fathers. Onga, if you see a man and he's in the same clan as your dad, mat anzalkirundos magagit istittivolidi. Or among the traditional people, you still hear it, and you hear it among some of the elders, even around the church. That what they're saying is, oh, then that means you're my dad. So I am to give you all of the respect and the reverence that I would give to my dad. And so the same way, you can have a daddy, you can have a grandpa, You can even have an aunt from your dad's side. If you meet somebody from your dad's side and she's elder than you, and she's, say, Foswalgi, and your dad was Foswalgi, she becomes your aunt. And that's traditional relationships. It's important when, long time ago, I used to hear it all the time when people would meet each other and they'd shake hands and they'd say, he's stongo. He's Stedonska, magen nakstua hazudoes, magen stanariskidoa, magen Shawnee legairondoes and Seminole outsadidos, magen onungo nagogiruncha, magen magnoat. See, they would ask each other questions in order to learn who they are and how am I supposed to talk to you. I need to know who you are. What are you? In other words, what clan are you? Where do you live? What's your name? What clan are you? And that's how you make those relationships. And then sometimes people, they would become very close just because they found out what clan somebody was. But you know, these days there's not much emphasis. Our ceremonial grounds is, even though they're still going, some of them are still going good, our language is diminishing. When you go to the ceremonial ground, you walk around the camps, that's all you'd hear. It don't happen no more. When you go to church, and during the break, and people was visiting and talking, you don't hear it no more. When the preachers get up there to preach, I was just talking about this a few days ago with several preachers. There is no first language preacher anymore. There's not one. There's not a first language preacher, one that preaches his sermon all in Mvskoke. I understand why. They need to reach as many people as they can. So I'm going to preach to you in a way that you'll understand. But the point is, our language is going away. Because if you don't preach it to me, I'm not going to understand. The next time somebody says, what's that mean? Because if I hear it, whether I understand it or not, I'm going to know what it is. That's going away. Our ceremonial grounds, I don't know, but they tell me we got medicine men out there don't even talk Creek or Seminole. How they making medicine, I don't know. We got people, and we got, I love our ceremonial people, but we got people singing songs, they don't know what they're saying. You know, those originally were medicine songs, but now they're just tunes. It's not their fault, it's because that's what's happening in society. All we can do is, us here, the elders, grasp onto what you got and share it with your kids and your grandkids. So anyway, I'm getting off the subject here a little bit. Sometimes people get confused when we talk about clans, and I told you it's a traditional identity. We don't write it down. It don't go in the enrollment book at Wiwoka or Ogmulgee. That's a traditional identity. We don't that don't have nothing to do with our tribal identity. Some people get it confused with band identity or tribal town identity. Those are political designations. Even though they're similar to the clan in that you inherit those from your mother, those are given to us for political reasons, and those are recorded. If I'm not mistaken, when you enroll in a tribe, you have to put your tribal band down, right? So that they'll know which meeting you need to go to. That's good. But that's not so with the clan identity. So always, if you're not sure what your clan is, while you've still got relatives that may know, please find out and please research, because it's important that you know. I always go back to this story that Marianne and Martha told. I think it was Marianne told a story one time that she said that she was told a long time ago by the elders that one day is going to come And when they're going to take all the Indians down to the seashore, down to the ocean, and they're going to take them one at a time onto this big ship. And I guess it was back in the old days of elders, that's all they knew about was those big ships that those early Europeans came in. Said they're going to take them one by one and they're going to walk them out on that plank and they're going to have a sword pointed at them. And they're going to say, speak a word or speak a sentence of your language or else I'm going to push you over. And those that could would say something and they'd bring them back and let them off. But those that couldn't, they'd push them with that sword and knock them off. I know that's not going to happen, but at the same time, I hate to see a time come when our people are going to say, you know, I don't know what my clan is anymore. I don't even know who might know. All my grandparents are gone. All the ones I could have talked to, my aunts and uncles, they got Alzheimer's. Nobody knows anymore. And we're going to lose that identity. But it had a purpose. And the purpose was to establish your place within tribal society, to learn to respect each other, to have regard for one another. And that's what that was for. You know, they even considered it incest if you married somebody within your own clan. Not your relative, but your clan relative. And that was forbidden, and people didn't do it. But that's how much they believed in that clan identity. It also helped them to retain that regard that they had for the women in our society. You know, there's a new rebirth of tribal acknowledgement of women in society, in this society. With all this talk you hear about abuse and emotional abuse, physical, mental abuse, and how they're trying to cope with it and trying to change it in Indian tribes. One of the things is learn about respect for women. Learn about the way you're supposed to treat women. I grew up in the 1950s and 1960s, and you know, our people were going through a time when we had pretty much lost track with cultural traditions. I grew up in a time when I would pass a beer joint downtown and see a man sitting inside while his wife and kids sat out on the sidewalk waiting for him. Or I remember when I'd see a man slap a woman, tell her shut up, and she would just close her eyes, bow her head, and get away from him, because that's just the kind of society. Y'all remember it, don't you? Y'all seen it. Things are starting to turn around, and one of those things is because you got to learn to respect women. That's not what women are for. In our society, women are supposed to be highly revered. They're the ones that bring us life. So anyway, that's where I was going with this talk about clans. Now, you should be proud. I don't care what clan you are. Some people say, I'm Wind Clan. I was one of the first. Our clan was the first clan. Well, that's good, but you know, I'm Bird, and I'm just as proud as you are. It's good, but I know what you are. So if you don't know what you are, that's not a shame. The shame is if you don't try to find out. So if you don't know what you are and you're here today, go home and take some time, and let's try to get people more conscious and aware of our clan identities, because it's very, very important. I'm going to just kind of like freewheel here. I'm going to pass the mic, and if you've had any thoughts about what we're talking about, your clan, maybe your traditional life, or things that you might have been taught by your grandparents, or things that you might have been told that you want to share, I might want to hear it, and it might be valuable to somebody else here. So I told you a little bit about what my grandpa and grandma taught me about clans. So I'm going to pass this mic, but first I want to say that I am Bird Clan. My mother was a bird, her mother was a bird, and her mother. Since it all comes down through the woman, all of my female matrilineal line was Bird Clan. Now, all the other people in my line that were not, they were different, except my dad. I mean, they say he was Bird too. You wasn't supposed to do that, but they said he was Bird Clan. And but my grandpa on my mom's side, he was what they call Aktayatsogi. There's not a lot of them anymore, but there's a few around. And I asked him one time, I said, Aktayatsogi, what's that? He said, that's a water being. And I take it to be some kind of a spiritual, kind of a serpent kind of thing that lives in the water. And Aktayatsogi, that's what he is. So, and then on back and on back and on back, I don't know what they might be, but on my grandma's line, since time began, is Bird Clan, and that's what I am. So I'm going to pass this around to my left and tell us a little bit what you got on your mind and something that might have struck your interest as we were talking.
Hello, I'm Carrie England. I work for the Seminole Nation Child Care.
You think Gary England?
No. I wish. No. I'm Kotolgi. I got it, from my mom. And I believe my dad is a water serpent, but I'm not sure about that.
Abilene Fletcher, and we were told that we were Hulbuttus, so I guess that's what we are. And that's all I know.
Me too. I'm Hulbuttus too.
Do you know what he is, your dad?
What was our dad? Huh?
Bushwa.
Oh, Bushwa. And I think J.D. Roberts, he always tell me, he said, I'm your dad.
White Ron, whole lot, cocktail, and my dad was a holiday, and we called it sweet potato. That's how we were taught.
One night you and Carrie, your sisters, then.
I guess that part I don't know. I don't know who's my sister or my brother or my grandma.
I'm Fanny Harjo, and I'm the same as her. That's my sister. That's my real sister. That's my blood sister, not my clan sister. She's my blood sister. But we're Kacha, and our daddy was Sweet Potato Clan, and they didn't tell us too much about you was talking about a church for what, and but I never did learn who I'm supposed to take up for and who I'm supposed to laugh at. I never did learn that part of it. And Stimbo had all and that they don't reply to me too often, about how that comes about, because they say, that one's your grandpa and you can laugh at that one or something like that. Stuart and I don't know who I'm supposed to take up for and who I'm supposed to laugh at. So we'll have to learn that today from you.
Edwin, I'd like to ask a question, two questions now, since Fanny said what she did. My dad took me when I was about 4 or 5 years old, about 3 miles from the house, and to an elderly lady's house and to visit. And while we were there, he's always saying, this is your kinfolks. Don't forget that this is your kinfolks. And I said, okay. And he said, this is your grandmother. He didn't say, which way. I took it the Hickey way. And so when I went back to the house, I said, Mom, how can I have 3 grandmothers? And then she said, that's clan kin. But now that was, so I'm like, how could she be my grandmother? I still don't know how she could be my grandmother.
Whatever your grandpa was, either one, either your dad or your mom or your dad's son, either way, anybody that belongs to them clans, a woman would be your grandmother. So it'd be like your grandpa. She has the same status as your grandpa. So if your grandpa was Israel, and she's Israel, she's your grandma. That's how that works.
Okay, now, Fanny was saying she's Scotcha. My dad was Scotcha, so we can.
All the men that are Gotcha are your dad. Chief Cody.
Okay.
He's added that. Even though they can speak Mvskoke real good, they'd always say, I'm daddy. Or he or some of them say, I'm Justy. But all the women in that clan has the same status as your mother. If her clan is your daddy's clan, yeah.
Well, okay. Now, hi, Mom. Hey. My mother's clan, or the clan that I am from my mother, is Otter, Ozana. Mm-hmm.
See, there's very few of them.
I met this guy from Florida. I forget what his name is. He took, he must have spoken Mvskoke maybe from the Mvskoke reservation down there, and then he comes up here and takes lessons from, or goes to OU and under Margaret Malden. Then he could talk Creek fluently. Anyway, yes, I met him. I was supposed to sing in Okmulgee, and I met him up there. But he was standing across the room, came over to me and started talking to me in Indian. And I'm like, how does he know I could even understand Indian? And then he asked me what clan I am. And I thought, I'm not fluent. So if I say something in Indian, he'll expect me to continue in Indian. So I'll say this in English. And I said, Otter. He continued to speak Creek. And he said, well, how do you say that in Creek? And I said, Ozana. And so he said, oh, he said, way back, he was doing this in Indian, way back where I come from, they don't hardly ever even say anything about otters. You know, it's just like they are almost non-existent, you know. But anyway, I'm Otter. My dad was Kacha.
Rosetta Pepworth, Tahizakwashimo, Tusket, I like it, Zamba, Tusket, Halbara.
Yeah. She said she was a sweet potato and her dad was a alligator, right?
Nantibido, and that Ajambi also. This is my aunt. Okay, my mama's daddy was a bear, and my daddy was a wind. My grandmother was a creek, and I guess my grandfather went that way, picked her up and brought her home.
Thanks. Hold up just a second. I don't want you. I want you to keep talking.
Okay.
But you just said something. I wanted to make it real clear. When we talk about clans, there ain't no creek in Seminole. It's all Mvskoke. We all come from the same place, the Creeks and Seminoles. So whatever clans we are, we had that before those Creeks left and went to Florida back in the 1700s, 1600s. We had that before we were called Creeks or Seminoles. We were Mvskoke. So, now the band or tribal town is different, but as far as the clan identity, we're all the same people. Go ahead.
Yes. And she taught me a lot of things, Creek. She used to, Mvskoke. She would tell us that when she talked native language was all she used, you know. And whenever people come over, they'd ask, who's your mama, who's your daddy? And they'd tell them who they are, and everybody knew each other around here. And whenever we finished the conversation, she'd say, that's your Jinahungi. That's all they said, Jinahungi. You had to know who that was, your kinfolk. So every time we turn around and talk to somebody, they Jinahungi, but anybody that comes through that door, they ask, who's your mama, who's your daddy? That was what was asked. And they know who you come, where you come from, who you are. And it's like my mama would go to church like her. And she'd, oh, my daddy, and daddy. And she'd call. And it was Lee Hadjo from a Jenna church. Said, that's my daddy. And my daddy would laugh at her, saying, hey, you know. And they call him in, give him coffee, you know, you serve him. Then it was like, I'd say, how is he our kinfolk, you know? But that was her daddy's, you know, they were the same clan. Through clans, it was so confusing. The real kinfolk and then the clan kinfolk. But if you didn't understand and listen to everybody, it'd lose you, you know? It's very confusing. And I got to where I just listened to them, and all they taught was native language. If you did not know what they were saying, they lost you, and you'd be confused. But anyways, like I say, everybody knows each other, kinfolks, you know, for we're Tiger family here, there's so many kinfolks. We have grown so much, and I met another one yesterday I didn't know was my kinfolk. But Rosetta, I take her with me, and she tells me things. You know, you got to use your aunt, whoever you got left. And that's why I use her, because she tells me a lot of things. And I don't know. And the people that has grown, and I've lost contacts with them, because I left too, you know, I went away. But when I come back and she knows these people, she tells me who they are. You got Jeff over there sitting there, he's my cousin, you know. There's a lot of kinfolks, Mildred, we was all raised up together, you know. Kelly Haney is her sister, you know. It's a lots of family people here, you know. We go way back, and I'm saying, I don't know why we fight, because we're all kinfolk. And we should be helping each other, working with each other, making the nation strong.
Istui anjana hangin uga anjana hangin unwa chaski ai jaja pacha tina hangin eshois ini gomi again, even if I didn't agree with something somebody said, don't go to his rooms. Istida mua moi umana we polumana ayu atan mukuagi. They got to be right. Everybody got to be right. Tisano giruet, maga giruet, tisani mani usanibe. Iluhan hesitant, iluhan hesitant, mayitsin. Tiyan ki maydan isagitun. Tiyan ki maydan sahayagi. Itsogi, imusogi, fulani, isagi siguturi, fulani, iluat, isagi siguturi. Moi hagitun, moi hagitun. Na, Iashkira, Iashkira, Arabisca, Natsaka, Mahoga, Tizaridan, Mashini, Bayan, Fulanidan. I got that Mahaya, Mahawi, and one. So you see, I gotta be right. That's why, this meeting like this, that's why it's important. That's why it's important to learn about plan and things like that, because Ishtimora, Isichinad, Agini Chichinan, Tizani Maida, Shi Havarahan, the Soy Fully Munga, Abagani, Jana with it. Jackie might have known. Oh God, you hit the nail on the head when you said it. So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You might
You know, what's about you do? And then again, it's like he was saying, the language. We sure losing the language. We should use our families. These people tell you things if you listen to them. And I have gone and started revisiting the elderly people. I want to know if they knew these individuals. Nobody knows no more. They're dying off. We have to reach out to these elders. We need to talk to them, find out what happened. Who are these people? Do you know them? Could you tell me? There's a lot of things out there we don't know, like he was saying. It's not like we read it through the books. We lived it. We were taught it at home every day. Respect was told to us to give everybody respect. We don't have that no more. Our children we're losing them somewhere. They won't respect you like they used to. If someone told you, a younger person, something, they did not answer back, you sat quietly. You had to take it. That was the way. So, if I'm taking too much time, I just wanted to express, you have to, you know who you are. I've lived it. I've seen it. Church, stock ground, I was raised 2 ways. But still yet, I learned that respect is there. Got to have love. There's a lot of this stuff that's not there no more. We have to use that in the proper manner. We can go forth, but we can't exclude these elders. They're the main ones that take care of us today. They're our answer to many things. We got to use it.
I'm going to get off the track here a little bit and I want to say something nugget. Because when I speak to you all, I think you all can kind of understand because you saw some of the things that I saw. Sti manito rat. Bigusar ka sa wala di mawahi bahana shanti afkat di mawahi bahana ilishige na no ojinima. Oh, moksha. Ya hegida. Kalalat ko hindi niya hegid. Ilishige kabalugis mentikis po amat. They was renewing that spirit that they had of love for one another. Tisari maida. I guess they still do that, but that's why they did it. And I think that a lot of people are going away from some of those kinds of things. Some people act like they don't want nobody to think that they got something over on them. From the honey they have to come out on top all the time. It don't have to be. It don't have to be that way. Because 9 times out of 10, it don't matter who wins the argument. What matters is how you're going to feel afterwards. I've seen brothers and sisters fighting over estates, land, property. And 6 months later, one of them died, and they all hanging on each other, crying and bawling. And Kenki might have, we just got too much of it. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and let you go now. At least I spent some good time talking with you. Here you go.
Okay, my name is Bessie Spencer, and I belong to Hejedi Band, and my clan is Wynn, and my dad was kind of, I guess, he always said Tiger was his dad, so I respected him as a Tiger as part of my clan, I guess. I don't know how that went. So that's about all I can tell about this.
My name is Greta Haney Ruminer. Most people around here call me Tiny. Most of you know me by Tiny. I know you know my dad, Woodrow Haney, and that's my uncle sitting right over there, Jerry. And Kelly is also my brother. So, as far as what I know, I know that I grew up with, Mom and Dad spoke fluently, of course, in Seminole, but for some reason I did not pick it up. But I do understand some of it, maybe a lot of it, but I don't speak it. I don't have a tongue for any language, it doesn't matter what. But I do understand some of it. And even my son is trying to learn, but I can't teach him because I don't know enough of myself. And I have a grandson who is really interested, but he is Seminole, and he'll tell you this. He's Seminole, Choctaw, Italian, and he wants to learn so much about it, but he's not around here. He doesn't even know Italian, but his mother speaks fluently. But as far as language, I do understand some of it, maybe not all of it, but I do catch a lot of phrase here and there, and I do understand jokingly when people talk. But as far as just the conversation itself, I don't speak it. I don't know why, I just never have, and I doubt that I ever will, but as long as I can understand some of it, it's okay with me. So, yeah, I really don't have a whole lot to say on this, but I just want to say that right now, what little of us is left together, we have been trying to get together as far as finding out who our family is, where we come from, and it's really interesting to know that there are some people that I didn't even know way back when, but we're still working on it. And I think it's very important for us to know who the background is and where we come from. And I'm still trying, so, you know, if anything else, I'm still listening.
My name is Mildred Harjo, and I'm Wind Clan. My mother, that's my aunt right here, Aunt Bessie. And she's like a second mom to me. And my dad is Samson G. Harjo. They used to call him Huffy. And he was Mvskoke band, and I know his clan was Sweet Potato. And we've been Wind Clan on my mom's side, and like she said, Grandpa was Tiger. And I used to think that my dad used to say his daddy was Bear Nooksy, I think. I'm not for sure. I keep having to talk to somebody to remind me. And I'm trying to teach my sisters and my nieces and nephews at least that much about our clans and who our daddy was and our lineage, where we come from. And my mom was starting to teach me before she passed away. And she gave me, I can read, I can get a book and I can read, but I can break some of the words down, but I can't bring nothing out. I can't bring anything out. I mean, I can understand what you're saying here and there. You know, I can pick some of the words out, but and I can read the book. She had me read the Bible, and she said read it, and I could read, but you know, I just couldn't talk. I couldn't talk, and I still can't.
Well, you know, a lot of people, even like, and I appreciate this, our language is going down, and it's going slowly going away. But you know, we do pretty good with them hymns, don't we? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know a lot of people can sing hymns, but they can't talk to you. You know, but they sing hymns real good because it's repetition. You do it over and over and over. And that's how you learn. But that's the way you learn the language, too. Just say the words over and over and over.
You know, like the Lord's Prayer, you know, my mom wrote that. You know, I guess say, Putki hobi legeska, a jogigas. You know, I can read it on that book. I can read the whole thing, but I just can't get it from my memory to get it out. And I can sing, and I have to have that book that has the English word on it to understand what I'm saying. And then, of course, the Spirit of God, is in your heart. And so, it touches your heart. And you have a better understanding what the songs are saying, I believe, without having to explain, you know, what it means. Because I tell you, God's Spirit is really in a lot of those songs. If they can understand words here and there, it would mean a whole lot more.
Well, as usual, I won't be exception to the rule. My name's Jeff Tiger. Jalagi Aniwodi Niyahan Anigatuagi Eji. Let's see if I can change languages here. My dad was Ahatambogi. Ahalagogi. So on my grandmother's side, though, I'm related to these ladies here. But my mother was Cherokee, and as such, that my matrilineal clan was Aniwodi, which is Cherokee clan for war paint, which is derived from the red ochre. When they painted to go into battle. That's my clan.
Cherokees, they only got 7 clans.
Well, the Western Cherokees have 7 clans. The Eastern Cherokees have 7 clans. They're not necessarily the same 7 clans because sometimes they, the Bear clan, they have like 3 different names for it. You could be the Bear, or you could be the Long Hair, or the Blue clan. But there's 7 designations. They're just not sure, how the names are attached to each clan. But let's see. Oh yeah, and you were asking about who can make fun of who. Kachas are supposed to defend their fathers from anybody laughing at them. Nogazogi, that's their father. But after noon, then it's okay to laugh.
It's their father only if their father is Novozogi. You're not automatically father if you're Novozogi. Your father has to be Novozogi for all the other Novozogis to be your father.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. That's who you're supposed to defend. That's the only thing I can remember out of all that. But my grandfather on my dad's side, he was Nogazogi, so that was what a little bit I picked up there. But I appreciate you having us all here, and I appreciate the view. If Carrie could scoot over just a little bit, I can see them burgers. Well,
Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate you coming out here, Jeff. I wish, I want to break off here just a second and say something. Since I started working out here, I didn't know this was out here. But I like this place, and I wish, I don't know. I wonder if they allow people to come and use this like for a reunion or anything like that. It's pretty nice. I like these arbors anyway. But if you're ever, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know where Joe's at, but if you need to use this out here, if we're here through the week, if we're here, I don't see why you couldn't. Sometimes people have maybe death in the family, they need someplace to go to feed somebody, and you want to use this arbor. I don't see why we wouldn't, but you can ask Joe about that. But, I like this place here. I like it because it's breezy, and so y'all are welcome here anytime. Go ahead.
I was waiting for you to wind down. Clyde Brown, and I'm a whole brother. I belong to the Cheesy Band, and from what little I know, from what little I was taught, is that if you had a mother that was cheesy and your dad was real cheesy, it's more or less like incest, So, but I wondered, you're saying something about our tradition as far as taking the mother's side and all like that. Well, they must have got into the government then, because all the Dawes Roll has what they were, what clan they belonged to, and I was just wondering about it. I know it's true because I got.
Look real close. The clans ain't on those.
Well, clans. Yeah, maybe you're right.
Band and tribal county is, but not clans. Yeah.
But I think the government has a lot of influence on a lot of the stuff that we're doing now. And as far as teaching our young ones about the band and stuff, it's electronic games, TV and everything, and it's more or less in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
And before, yeah, we could teach them, our grandparents could teach us because we didn't have no other distraction but to listen. And I think that traditionally, a lot of our traditions worked at one time, but we're losing them just like we're losing our language. We don't practice it, and even if we did try to practice it, who could we talk to? We'd have to come to some place like this. We buy our groceries from white people. Anything we buy is from white people. Go to school with white people. And if you start speaking our language, they're going to look at you and ask where you come from, you know?
I'll ship you to Mexico, ain't it?
So I can see the essence of it. We traditionally, but sometimes, just like my son, Kiowa, so that makes the kids Kiowa, treat Seminole in white, because their mother's white. Now, how in the world am I going to try to teach them anything when you got a big gaming set in the living room, big old TV in the living room? So I can see that our language is like anything else, like your muscle. You don't lose it, you don't use it, you'll lose it. And how many people do we have? And how our language has evolved. I know some of the younger people, they say, you want Hijimo? And I'll say, what? The Hijimo. And they've cut it, okay. But there's a lot of things that you take into consideration for the language has. And of course you got different dialects. Dialects that come from, that we share, comes from our clans, because the clan was more or less close knit, whereas now they're not. So there's change coming.
Mr. Brown, what do you speak?
No.
No.
I didn't speak.
Words?
Father lived all over the state, so therefore English, Seminole was the first language. Another thing I was going to ask you, where does Mississippi come in?
Let me say first of all that Mvskokes were in Florida when the Mvskoke people migrated south into Florida. And there were not only them, there was Yamasee, Creeks, Mvskokes, and even some runaway freedmen. They all blended into what the Spanish called Cimarron people or Seminole people. Now, you hear a lot about Seminole people, but the fact is there's different groups that make up Seminole people. And some of them combined. But for the most part, during the time of removal, the people that were removed to Oklahoma were still fairly closely related to the Mvskoke people, to the Creek people. They were the Creek Seminoles that lived in northern Florida. They were easier to get to and easier to capture, but the ones that ran off in the swamp, they couldn't get them. They gave up on them. But the ones that they were captured were brought to Oklahoma is what comprises Seminole Nation here today. So I would say that there's very little Mvskoke blood anymore. There might be some, but for the most part, very little.
Well, my grandmother, which I never knew, but Dad said she used to want to come back to, they lived down around Stonewall, and they'd come back to Shin Church. And I've heard them talk, they talk Mvskoke. I didn't know what in the world they talked.
Yeah. One of the bands, tribal bands, is there were several Mvskokes. That's the Mvskoke band. And they had some prevalent tribal Mvskoke. Any of y'all Mvskoke? Oh,
I've got a question.
yeah.
Y'all remember Marilyn Joe at the church? And they just said Johnny Joe was, he spoke that Chitty. And I didn't know, they
Yeah.
said it was the language,
Yeah.
you know, from Chitty. And he was the only one that they knew around that, our area.
Well, see, that was something that, there was even Creek people that spoke Kijiji. It was a distinct language. Kijiji was, so there was some, like the Alabama, they call it Alabama Coshada. They speak a similar language to each other. It's almost the same thing, but it's really different than Creek. You can't understand them when they're talking. But at one time, we were all together. They spoke their own language. It's almost Choctaw. The Alabama language is almost Choctaw. But they're still Mvskoke people. So it's kind of like that with the Kijiji and the Mvskoke.
Hey, that's when I was a little girl. One of the churches I was raised in after Grandma died, that's how we started looking for it. And there was one of the little pastors there that Florida Indians in town got every summer and preached. And we started singing. When we started singing English songs, the priest preaching Indian, that they had to have an interpreter. I was thinking maybe singing. He spoke a different language, but it was Florida. I was on the impression we had to have an interpreter to even know what he was saying. And I was thinking that Mexican was sure the band name.
Well, my grandmother was Creek. Well, Cena Bush was her name. And there was a guy named Buster White, there. He'd go to Florida, come back, they would talk to and he would stay, come and go. He'd stay with us about a week or two, then he'll go. Then he'll come back to Grandma, and they'll speak that language. And he'll stay kind, and he'll go. But he'd always come back, knew what he was.
Webster Wise used to come to our house and stay about a week at a time. He was married to a woman that was Mvskoke. And they had four or five children. And she drove off of a lagoon. What do you call them down there in Florida? Lagoon? The big long ditches on the side of the highway full of water. She drove off in one of them one time, and her kids all died except for her oldest daughter. And he used to come stay with us. He'd bring his family. They'd come from Florida, and they'd stay about a week with us, and they'd about every summer. And so I knew him real well. He was Louis Wise's brother. Louis Wise and Jimmy Covici, Louis Wise. That was his brother. He was their brother.
He used to my grandmother Cena real well, Louis White.
Yeah.
Those were some of the people that I thought talked about the language, and I thought, English, keep that line. Discovered that my grandma speaks that language.
I want to take a break right now, but we're not quite ready, just a few minutes, we'll be ready. But some of y'all didn't sign my sign-in book. I'm gonna pass it back around. Sign that, put your phone number on there. Just wait a few minutes, we'll get something to eat and we'll get started back. Got some good food coming up.
Donnie. Maiden name was Harjo. I'm from around Conowal, Gamusa. My mother didn't know anything about the clans or anything, and so I got older, and I wasn't interested until, when you're young, you just don't think about it. So I went to a Seminole patchwork class at the Seminole Nation Museum, and I met a cousin, didn't know, Wisey Stevens. So she told me who our clan was, but my mother knew that we belonged to the Ocheezy band. So I didn't know Wisey. That was my mother's side. They're Likas, goats. So anyway, she told me a little about things, and that's how I found out what band we were, our clan, Wind Clan. So I've talked to a lot of people, but I didn't quite understand what it meant. My grandmother was Lillian Foster, or Foster Burgess. So we used to go to Wewoka Church, and we had Bible school, and they preached and everything, and I'd hear the language all the time. And like you said, the songs, it's over in your head. Repetition, repetition. And I recognize them, but I didn't know the language, and we just kind of stayed together with the family, at a certain camp. And as I got older, I got married, didn't have time for all this, I had to raise a family. But I always remember the language, but I forgot, some of the words. I mean, I could remember some words, but I always wanted to learn. And so that's why I like to come to these gatherings that we have, and anything that I can learn. But what you have to do is, if you want to learn something, you have to study, talk to people, and all my relatives are gone. And I was lucky to talk to Wisey because she was on my mom's side, and my mom didn't really visit her relatives on her side. It was always my dad's side. So as time went on, I got older, and I figured, I tried to. My grandmother already passed away, but I had some of my uncles, and we talked about the clans. And my grandmother had told one of my uncles that there was a water serpent. She called it. She had a name for it, but he couldn't remember it because he didn't speak Seminole. It was, from what he said, she told her it was a water serpent, but like a snake, like a moccasin or something. Those water snakes, or. Yeah, and I can't remember the name. I'm forgetting things now. I'm getting older. Is it snake called Chito? Okay. Well, one of my cousins said we're Chito, but from his mother, we're cousin.
What she just said, and what I told you, what my grandfather was, that's.
Yeah, that's it. Octo, something like that.
Yeah, that's the word for that.
Serpent. And so I've learned as I go along, and I want to write all this down for myself and my kids. They won't remember anything, and they're not interested now. And like you said, they've got a lot of things going on, all kinds of stuff. But one of these days, when they get to be older, they want to know, and it's too late, So if you don't, I'm going to try, like I said, right? I've got a book. I keep stuffed books, like my grandkids. They're sick. Absentee, they're absent from school. So my daughter doesn't do that. So I try to keep track of things, and so I'd like to keep me a book like that, and write down all the things about our family. So if anybody wants to look, they can look at that book and see where we come from, who our relatives are. And I have a nephew. He's doing genealogy stuff. He's tracking our family, different families that we're related to. So anyway, I think this is fun, and I wish we could all get together sometimes, maybe have a language thing, just simple words. I'm forgetting, my grandmother spoke Seminole, and her husband was a Creek, full-blood Creek, and he was Bear Clan. So, but it's interesting to come to meet all different people. I don't remember names, I remember faces, but I don't remember names. And thank you, appreciate this time. Yeah, you know my sister Clarissa.
Yeah.
I worked for OG&E for about 30 years.
Well, were you on the council or something?
No, I was on the Princess Committee.
Oh, okay, that's what I knew. Yeah.
That's a tough
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
It sounds easy, but man, it's tough.
Let's take a break, and Joe said we're almost ready, so as soon as he gets his baked beans out here, he said it'll be ready, so. We're gonna take a break. Where's the drinks at? You brought it out yet? But I just had one the other day, and you know, Calgary, Magere, Skifka, Usiko, Hoping will all come together. Ini mapas, ini din mo na po yun. Lagi po mas lagi po na isa ka nila. Para na ito. Kayo yung nakaptiya ng pari. Oy, kita po pisa. Pisa esi sige ses. Oy, ayo yung nakaptiya. Ayo yung yasang sa maro sige sige. Alright. Okay.
Sabi mo sa akin, tumakas na slow, as like a minute, I think that's my house. Kahangin, lokal, sigurado sa mga nakakatuwas. Ano guys ka lang yung mga discarded in the body. Yung mga sumali, kakakali, kakakali, ako nakadal si Mahay, kasi sa mga years. Dahil, yung mga ako para sa kung ngayon yung kinalaman yung mga sa mga nagpunagay at sila ito, and si Juan, para sa mga sa mga Mahay yung, yung ako sa mga nagpunagay, sila kakakali sa mga
Next time, subject is